Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today we're going back to the Alpha X. So a bow so nice, we had to review it twice. This is actually my favorite full setup, complete setup for this year, and this is what we're going to start the season with. So we'll do the review on the bow like we do. As we do our freestyle shoot and throughout the review, we'll kind of touch on everything that we're going to include in that first day of hunting, and kind of why we made some of the decisions that we've done. So we did the 33, now we got the 30. Like I said, I absolutely love this bow. This bow is my favorite bow of the year. So when we do our top 5, spoiler alert, this is probably going to take that number 1 for 2 reasons. Okay, so me personally, I like an investment. I don't mind spending money if I know I'm getting good quality. Hoyt is at the top, and they separate themselves, for me, they separate themselves by a mile. Their quality is exceptional, okay? And for somebody who is rough with their equipment, in and out of the woods, whatever it may be, I always feel confident in the quality and craftsmanship of Hoyt bows. Number 2, their more compact bows, to me, seem to be equally as solid as some of their longer axle to axle. So we got the 33 and the 30. You know, the 33 might separate itself a little bit for a longer draw like me at 30 inches, but it's so close, I always end up going, you know, with the more compact bow for the type of hunting and situations and scenarios I find myself in the woods. So I love Hoyt for those 2 reasons. So Hoyt from last year to this year, they made some unbelievable changes, and I know we're about to enter the season, and they're probably, I know they're about to come out with a bow here soon, and I cannot wait for some of these new bows. But from last year to this year, they made some really significant changes, and I think it put Hoyt at the top for me, just in general. So, and that hasn't always been that way. So for several years, especially when I was going through kind of my end of high school, college, Mathews was that for me. And I still have some of those bows. The bows that they were putting out at the time, to me, were just top tier. Now, I think Hoyt has taken that king spot, that GOAT spot, and by a long shot. Between the quality, the speed, the hold. Okay, so for me, and it should be for every archer, but the hold at full draw, the stability at full draw, Hoyt takes the cake. Just incredible. Okay, and the reason why we haven't done a ton of these reviews lately is I have this, had an elbow injury that kind of prevented me. It kind of limited my daily shooting down to like just a couple arrows a day. I was just getting through workouts without, and taking care of it without it being really painful, but shooting my bow really did it for me. So with some therapy, kind of, rehabbing this thing back, we're gonna get back into some of these bows, and it's perfect timing because like I mentioned, we're about to enter the hunting season and all these companies are gonna start dropping bows. So let's jump right in. We have Alpha X30, got a little bit over 30 inches axle to axle. You get a 6 3/16 brace height, so it's nice and tight. This thing does get 344 on the ATA. So let's touch on that for a little bit for those of you who don't know. You got the IBO speed and the ATA. The IBO is just an inflated way of companies trying to slip one by you. That's all it is. And when you're doing anything like speed, as we do in-house, you got to keep all the variables the same when you're comparing apples to apples. When you got bows and we're trying to compare bow speeds, you got to use all the same variables. You got to keep them all the same. 30 inches on the draw at 70 pounds. They do a 350 grain arrow. We do a 500 grain arrow in here, which gives you a more realistic hunting arrow, but still, it's the same, okay? So with the IBO, you have the option of an 80-pound option. If a bow gets up to 80 pounds, you can use that up to 82 pounds and whatever the max draw length is. Again, when you're switching everything up, you can't compare bows to bows. So keep that in mind. So I love that 344 ATA. Fucking smoke. This thing is throwing heat. And if you've followed along in the past couple weeks, you will see with this arrow that I went with, the RIP TKO, the V1, I think I did a 250 spine, just in case I did bump this thing up. I got this bow at an 80-pound limb option. I have it back down to about 72 right now, but I have that 80-pound option on there, which we'll actually crank it up for the speed test and see what we get with that too. Back to the specs. You got 4.55 pounds, so it's a nice, perfectly light bow with a little bit of substance. And this is kind of where some of these major changes came in with this new cam system. The HBX Exact Cam. This to me is perfection. You have Mathews where they, they kind of peak performance at every draw length. All right, what you have here is it broke it up into three different mods. You got 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the first one goes from 25 to 26, then you got 26.25 out to 28, 28.25 out to 30. And if you didn't hear that, you got 0.25s in there, so you got those 1/4 inch increments on the draw length. Fucking love that. I mean, you can get this thing feeling so perfectly to you. You got an 85, 80, and 70 let-off option. And then something else cool that they added was this X hard or hard. So it's kind of like an extra hard or just a regular hard back wall. And you can do that by taking that let-off piece and changing the top with the bottom and kind of swapping those. Again, just another little something to customize the boat so that it feels perfectly for you. And I've stressed this so much that all of us, biomechanical makeup is so different. Our injuries are so different. Everything that plays into our habits, our flexibility, everything. So you want a bow to be able to customize to you, and that's where you're going to get that real comfortability, which transitions to consistency, in those tight groups that you want. So I love that about this cam system. I think it is, you get as much peak performance as you can out of every draw length without having to get new mods for every draw length. You got a little bit of fluctuation in there. And then on top, they added this little knob, which I also love, and that just kind of protects your cam systems, mostly from using these sticks that they have an accessory option for, but also just in general, setting it down, whatever it may be, it protects the top and bottom of that cam. Now, on to my favorite accessory, I think to date, the more and more I've messed with these, the more I love it, the sticks. Just being able to set your bow down like this anywhere you are, in a blind, just shooting at the range, in the backyard, wherever you are. I love it I love it just like this. This is just, it's so handy. And honestly, lately I threw this Quattro stabilizer on there. The Dentro, which is this wood one. I just like the way this whole thing looks, the way it shoots. But before that, I was just running the shortstop stabilizer on the front here. And when I would hang it up in a tree or get ready to shoot, I would just throw these sticks out in front, and man, it was shooting. I love the way it shoots. Since I've thrown this on there, I think I'm gonna leave it like this for the first day of the season. But this shortstop stabilizer is an addition a couple years ago. This is one of my favorite pieces. You can throw this here, you can throw it up top, you can vice versa, switch them if you don't have the sticks. You can really mess around with those stabilizers and the weight distribution of those just to get that good feeling for you. Now the risers. Now these risers have changed various in the bridges, but mostly that back bridge, that same signature look of Hoyt. That's where to me you get that solid, that quality. I mean, the quality of these are just incredible, and I think a lot of that stability and just pure solidness comes from that back bridge that they have on there. They did add the built-in machined-in Picatinny rail. You got the integrated rest spot on the back. They did add this new little hole here on the back so you can run that rest string actually through the riser so it doesn't hang off to the side. They got these Vital Point grips, which just hands down is my favorite material. It gets wet, it doesn't matter, it doesn't slick. You can grip these things. I love these. The positioning, the angle, the feel, these to me are my favorite. You have a couple other dampeners that they added on, top and bottom, and then you have the ones on the string, but altogether this thing is for a 72-pound bow, the vibration in this thing is awesome. And obviously don't want to spoiler alert the single shot assessments, but I've shot this so much that this is just one of those bows. It's just incredible. We'll go over the other accessories that I'm going to run with it, including the arrows as we start shooting outside. The last spec is the limb options. You got 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 55 to 65, 60 to 70, and 70 to 80. Now the reason I went with the 80-pound is I just wanted to have a bow in-house in case I wanted to pick it up, go hog hunting, whatever it may be, where I thought I might need a little bit more oomph. I just wanted that option. So this one, I bumped it up to the 80 pounds. Now I have it dialed back down to 72 for the hunting season, but I'm telling you this is the fastest shooting bow that I have hunted with to date. So something else, we always get questions. I actually did a review on it if you want to go back and look, but the release I'm going to start the season with, the same release I've been hunting with for the past 5 years or so. You got the Spot Hog Wise Guy with a BOA strap. This thing, it's so solid. I mean, thousands and thousands of reps through it. It's never failed one time. It's just one of those things. And again, I'm a reviewer and I still get on that train of like, this thing just hasn't failed me, why switch? And there's plenty of releases that we've messed around with here and there, but for the most part, it's hard to put this one down, especially when I'm going into the field. So we are gonna be rocking this year to start off, and I'm a big Full Metal Jacket by Easton guy, but we're gonna go with these Rip TKOs. I got a 250 spine, the V1s. These things are solid and light. They really let you mess around with that feet per second, just with how light they are. Let's sling a couple. So the draw to me, and again, what I look for the most is lineage. Like from beginning to end, it's very linear. Now it's a stiff pull, and even down at 65, it's still kind of a stiff pull. And what I mean by stiff is it just takes some good effort to get it back, but it's very linear, which that's kind of what I like. Now you can mess around with the feet per second, you can get whatever limb poundage you want, and you can get it to where it's easy to pull for you, but as long as it's linear, that's the key. I don't like a big, you know, hump and dump at the end. That jerking motion is what I like to avoid in the field as much as possible. So again, we got a very little feeling in your hands. The vibration on this, for this thing flinging this arrow as fast as it is, the vibration on this is incredible. And it's solid. Solid as in, and I pointed this out a little bit ago, the longer axle to axle, the shorter axle to axle, when it comes to Hoyt, they all hold very similar, which is impressive to me, especially at my 30-inch draw length. It's really, really nice to be able to find a nice compact bow that's gonna hold like a 34-inch bow. That's what I get from this. I love this, everything about just this right here. The more I've shot this past 2 weeks, just like this, I love it. I love this wood stabilizer by Quattro. Quattro is like, to me, top tier. We did a review on some of their stabilizers. They're such craftsmanship when it comes to stabilizers. I absolutely love this. It kind of matches the bourbon color of this camo, or this bourbon color it has on this. Not quite, but it looks good. The colors and camo options from Hoyt are awesome too. You get a little bit of everything. Get an awesome selection. It's such a nice finished quality bow. You know, it reminds me of like Linex in my truck box. It's just as solid as you can get. Let's shoot one more and then let's go outside and we'll start slinging. So just like, you know, I think I said it with the RX-7, when you set this thing up, your pins don't float. Wherever you move them, they go. What else is awesome to me is the bubble doesn't float. Whenever you get it level, you move into position, it just wants to sit there. There is no countering. It's like the best part about all this. It's like after you take a glance at your bubble, you can be reassured it's gonna stay level. And then also your pins, you know, it just sits. It's so stable in full draw. And we will show you, when we get out here to the range, you'll just see, it's just such a breeze to shoot. Let's talk about the arrows that we're gonna run this year. On this particular setup, I got the Rip TKOs. I've loved these for a couple of reasons. They're as solid as you can get. I think I've only broke a couple. I love the collar that comes on these. It's kind of a little bit more stable up front. You can really mess around with the feet per second with how light these things are. I'm gonna run some halos in the back. So these halo nocks are really cool. You press them on, they're ready to go. When they come off, they light up. Now, if you press them on, they'll turn off, and then if you hold the side and pull them off, they don't light up. But these are really cool new nocks here. I'm gonna try these out. I got the green ones, and then as you guys have seen, I'm gonna rock this beast broadhead. I've fucked around with so many broadheads. I don't even have to shoot this thing at an animal, and I'm gonna tell you this thing's gonna be devastating. Absolutely love the spring technology. It is extremely sharp and extremely solid, very well made. You only get 2 of them, which I think people kind of, you know, stray away from that. But if you're reusing your broadhead, like Schwackers, I'll reuse several times. If you're reusing them, you don't need more than that. You know, you buy these, they're an investment. I have a feeling I'm gonna be able to use this thing all year, even though we're gonna test some different arrows. But I'll show you after these first couple deer we get, you know, we'll be able to reassess that. But these arrows, incredible. 125 up front. The FOC on these is perfection. Just got some regular Victory blade vanes, and then I got these new nocks we're gonna try out. We'll be able to give some feedback on those too, but excited about this arrow right here. And with this arrow, with the weight of it, I could probably get this thing down to like, you know, I could have gone with a 55 to 65 pound option and run this thing at 62, and it would still be right in there in the 280s, a breeze to pull back. Now, as I've gotten stronger, I don't mind this pull. But again, with whitetail hunting, you just don't need all that. This was more of an investment for me for just anything I wanted to hunt ever. I felt like I'd be able to do it with this bow. So let's go outside and let's fling some arrows. All right, so on to the best part. We'll do the freestyle shoot out here. We'll do the same thing we do as we usually do. We'll shoot from up here, we'll go to the gazebo, we'll shoot it all. Before I take this quiver off, we'll talk about this. I went with the Tight Spot, the new quiver from Tight Spot this year. I love these, it's super light. My two favorite things is it fits really snug, nice against the bow. And then also it has this little clip up at top in case you want to pack it on something or hang it up in the tree stand. But it has multiple different diameter, a capability of taking multiple different diameter arrows. Everything gets in there really nice and snug. It's really quiet on and off, but I have loved this more and more. So Tight Spot is some of my favorite quivers out there if you're looking for a nice quiver that you want to invest in. All right, but from up here, we got the deck, built a little box. We're shooting down here. I need to do a little trimming. I can barely see my targets. Well, we got a boar at 25, $2 at 30. This thing spits absolute fire. The arrows, and I can't wait to get to the gazebo and shoot up at that ram up on top at 50. It's gonna be on a string. You can already tell there's gonna be no arc. I mean, these things are just humming. Then we got one buck quartering away from me. The accuracy, I think, is the most impressive with this bow. The ability to shoot an accurate shot as quickly as you can. And again, when we get over there and shoot at that ram, we'll do that quick 50 that we do, but the ability to dial the pins down in such a short amount of time and feel comfortable is what's most impressive, and what I would say makes this the GOAT to me, which separates itself from other bows, is just, is that one factor, is being able to set up stable as fast as you can. So now we got another buck quartering to me. But I mean, it's just, your pen moves where you want it to. There's no countering, there's no waving. And again, for a 30-inch axle to axle bow with my 30-inch draw, that's kind of a little fine line that you kind of give. You want that bowstring angle to just be a little bit more, you know, not as acute, but with these, they just, something about them. They set up so quick and so nice. Let's go over, we'll shoot a whole bunch more from the gazebo. So if you've been following, great. If not, this is the grill and shoot spot. This is where I kind of get my reps in. We'll grill, shoot. This is where I'm at after work, kind of decompressing before I go inside. Best spot of the whole house. You got 20 all the way up to 50 targets, 5-yard increments, a slew of 3D targets right here that we're gonna get after. We're gonna climb this 3D ladder. We'll start with the turkey at 20. We'll go to this coyote at 25. This is one of those bows that shoots at the speeds where you can use your 20-yard pen with a little bit of adjustment all the way up to probably 35 yards. We always talk about the give and take of speed and sound, and with the speeds we're at nowadays, I don't ever worry about the sound too much anymore. Ooh, might have broken an arrow, but that, if you look right through this angle, there's a little hole where I've shot out that heart so much. I gotta quit shooting at that. It's just habit. It's just stupid, because I might have broken my arrow, but I can't help but to go for that heart. All right, now we got Gray Wolf, 35 yards. The confidence and ability to be able to shoot at a heart, that's everything to me. Your blood trail, the possibility of the deer running far. I mean, it takes away so many unknowns out of the equation if you can hit the heart. I mean, it's everything. You know, you shoot center mass when you start coming up. That was me, center mass. I didn't want to miss. I just wanted to get some blood on the ground, and I relied on my ability to track to find the animal. And boy, did I do some tracking. Once you get confident and you're blowing hearts out. I mean, last year, that big buck I finished with last year in Missouri, I shot him with that prime. That buck went 15 yards. it only walked horizontally, sideways, until it fell. I mean, that's it. That's everything. If you can see that deer go down in sight, that's all you want. You know, when you're hunting in thick timber, you know, you want it to go down no more than 50 yards. And sometimes you one long them from that angle of that tree, and only hit that backside lung. That deer might run a mile or two. So let's go black bear at 40. All right, let's go Paddington. And what we do on Paddington is a full draw stall. Talk about this all the time. The stability of the bow and the back wall, the ease of the back wall, all goes in kind of to a full draw stall scenario. This probably is going to be 72 pounds. It's probably, I'm holding like 13 and a half. It's probably going to be more than I would want, but honestly, as I progress as a hunter, I don't find myself in too many scenarios anymore where I'm having to hold. I can play this scenario out in my head and find that window usually where I don't have to hold for very long. So again, you progress, you give and take, you pick things that you like in a bow and what you don't like, you find the speeds that you like, the comfortability, all of it. It all kind of goes into this big equation, and as you progress as a hunter, as you age, it all changes and you kind of figure out where you want to land in there. But let's go. We'll go 1 minute, full draw stall, Paddington. The stability when you're at that poundage, you can just feel it wants to fatigue on you. Now, I also did my arms today, worked out this morning, but you can feel yourself slowly tensing more, and the more you tense and the less relaxed you get, I feel like that's when more errors are going to occur. But when I do these, I really just want to see myself placing a kill shot. So if you have a paper plate at 40 yards and you hold for 60, 90 seconds and you can get on that paper plate, it's worth taking a shot to me. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm pretty sure we've been calling that kicking buck at 45 from this angle the bonus shot. So I love this shot. It's 45 yards, it's quartering to me. You really got to tuck that shoulder. You know, this shot in the timber, it feels like 80 yards, okay? This is a good one. That's close. Anticipating that buck drops a little bit, but let's go ahead and we'll shoot another one. Hearts all day with ease. That's all you want. Got this big horn ram. I had an extension on that chicken coop. This is how much I trust myself. We got an extension on the chicken coop now, and they got chickens littering behind this bighorn. There's no room for air here. Chicken's getting smoked. Bighorn, 50 yards. Now, let's do a quick 50. Try to draw and release within 3 or 4 seconds. We'll go headshot, play a little horse. All right, so more realistically, 50 yards, if I ever got a chance at a bighorn with a bow, I'm probably gonna shoot center mass. So let's place one more. We'll go double lung. Man, the confidence is everything when you're in the field. You have so many things working against you. Your nerves, you know, you have factors that are outside your control, the weather, stability, platform, whatever, you know. So going into the field with as much confidence as you can, which usually comes from the combination of you and your setup. So you as an individual, as a hunter, and then the setup that you choose, you know, you're gonna build this confidence that you should be able to take into the field. That's the sole purpose why we're going to start the season with this, is I got a absolute monster on a trail that is pretty consistent. And I know I only got maybe 2 weeks in the field before he's going to switch it up on me, because I always do. But I want to go into the field with as much confidence as I can. That's kind of how I choose what bow I'm going to hunt with. Now, as you know, once I get what I'm after, we'll start experimenting with other bows, and we'll test some other stuff and different equipment and accessories and arrows. But I always like to go in starting with what I'm going to have the most confidence with. I think that's important. So let's go get a speed test on this thing. Let's get the sound, we'll get the grade, we'll give you that final grade. A little different than we usually do. You guys have seen me run the arrow that I'm gonna be hunting with through this thing, but we'll go ahead and do it one more time. When I did it with the new Garmin chronograph that we did a review on the other day, I think it was running like 310. This thing was getting like 312, but we'll run one through there right now. So we got a 440 grain arrow, 444, 311, okay? And that's what I'm gonna be hunting with. So now, let's go ahead and do, you know, the arrow that we do all the testing with. So this is like right at 500 grains. It's a 300 spine full metal jacket. Yep, this one's right at 500 grains. This is one we do all of our tests with. So again, like I mentioned earlier, we try to keep all the variables the same, especially what goes down on the graph and goes into the grade. That's why I like that ATA speed test better than the IBO. So 281. So again, absolutely perfection to me. Again, if you followed us from the beginning and you really pay attention, you will know that most bows that get good speeds are going to get right in there with this grain arrow. So that's awesome. So one thing else I do want to do though is I want to see at 80 pounds what we're getting. So what we're going to do is we're going to crank this thing back up, max it out at 80 pounds, and then we're going to run the speed test on both of those arrows, the one that we're going to be hunting with and the one that we use for all the tests. I'm not going to redo it. I'm just going to assume we're probably right at 80 or above. But here we go. Arrow 444, 80 pounds, 30-inch draw. This is getting, and we're getting into some crazy speeds here. 321. Also forgot I was about to pull back 80 pounds. That's a big difference. I pulled that thing back like I've been shooting all day, and the startup was a little tough. But now that I'm anticipating it, we'll see. So now we go back to that 500 grain arrow. We're gonna be close to 300. 304, that's awesome. And then honestly, like you can see that once you're prepared and like know what you're getting into pulling wise, this is such an awesome 80 pound pull. So if I ever found myself really needing or wanting that, I would feel completely comfortable taking that into the field, especially if I have 2 feet on the ground, you know, elk hunt or something like that. I think that would just be a really nice breezy pull. But man, that's really, really cool. All right, so sound test. Again, the Hoyts to me, they're never ever the quietest. I also feel like that's not even something that they advertise or strive for. This year they made a deal about the dampening and the harmonics of the bow, but not anything like other companies advertise with the quietness. It's kind of like they just know. It's kind of like what I've talked about. You're not, with the speeds we're getting, that's just not the major focus. I mean, there's so many other little factors that go into this. All the bows seem to be in a very similar range, and we haven't done one of these in a while. So anywhere between 86 up to 94 decibels on this reader. So this is very similar idea to the speed test, where we're not changing very many variables, and we can, you know, compare apples to apples. Everything in-house that we test, we can compare to each other. So 92.2 at 72 pounds. Like I mentioned outside, this is going to be a little bit on the louder side. Let's do one more. And we got that Vegas bag with that dampening system in the front. Try to make it as quiet as we can. 91.5. I would say 91 to 92 is probably about right. With the speeds that I'm getting with that particular arrow that I'm going to be hunting with, zero concern. You just got to work through them. Shot as little as I could each day while trying to keep up in the gym, while icing and maintaining myself. Also knowing that the season was right around the corner, I had to be careful because to me that's the most important. I love doing reviews for you guys, but doesn't compare at all to getting in that stand and doing what I love myself. So best bow of the year for me, backyard bows. This is our number one. It's funny how things change because again, I do this all the time. Still, I even do this. I looked at this in the shop when I went in, when they got them in, and I was like, nah. You know, it's just an instinct. You have to shoot and maybe even spend some time with, because the more you mess around with certain things and certain little new technologies and little things that they've added and tweaked, like you might find yourself liking something a little bit more than others. It's really, really hard to just first glance things, shoot it a couple times. So before we start this review, I've shot this 1,000 times since I've got it. So a little bit different on the review side with the single shot assessment and the freestyle. It's like, man, I've really had some time with this. Love it more and more every time I pick it up. The confidence is incredible. It's like a bow made for me. So let's just start. You got some of the best speeds, or some of the highest speeds I will have hunted with in the past years, just because I dropped that arrow weight down using those RIP TKOs. So I'm up to like 310. Hammering. I cannot wait to see that arrow speed with those new broadheads, beast broadheads. I can't imagine anything surviving a well-placed shot. I mean, it's gonna be, it's 100% at this point that something's going down, almost in my mind. Can't imagine something going wrong if I connect well. So excited about that. 8 out of 10 there because it got 281, which is my perfect target range with that grain arrow of 500. So 8 out of 10 to start. I gave it a 9.5 for quality. The only other bow I've given a 9.5, I think, was the new Athens from this year. Quality wise, you can't beat these for aluminum riser bows. Besides the fact that they're extremely very durable, they are super clean. I love the detail that Hoyt puts into these. The back bridge on the riser with the very, very kind of short cable guard. This entire right here to me is just as solid as you can get. I love the limb pockets. The cams are very, very nice gauge metal, very solid. I mean, this is just, it's something that you can just be reassured. And I think I had it even hanging up out there and one of the kids knocked it and it fell. And your first instinct is to be like, oh. And then I picked it up and I was like, ah, this thing, I think I had a little paint chip off up here, but it's solid. And again, I'm in and out, I'm roughing it. I just want something that I know somewhere between my truck and my stand, no matter what happens, I'm not gonna look back and be like, ooh, you know, just want something durable. Especially for some of these future hunts I'm gonna go on. Wanted something I could rely on. Appeal, again, for me, and again, this is all preference, but 10 out of 10 easy. These are just beautiful bows. The camo color options, the finishes, the structure of the riser, all of it together puts together for just a really slick bow. You throw this wood quattro stabilizer on there. I mean, again, we all have our flavors and tastes, but to me, this is just perfection. Technology, I gave it a 9 out of 10 too, and this is gonna be the debatable one that people always hammer me on, but for me, for the technology I'm looking for, this has everything. A little bit of wiggle room in the draw length. I love the let-off options. I love the play in the hard, play in the back wall. I love the integrated system that it has. You know, to me, this is just what you need. You know, the tuning systems that are on bows, it's something that is, again, it's an acquired taste. It's like whether you're gonna see yourself using it or not. You know how many guys we've sold and that I've been a part of selling Bowtechs to that don't ever touch or use either of the new tuning systems that they have on it? They just don't. It's just not something that they would do. They love the bows, they love the feel, they love everything else, but it's just not something that they would do. So the tuning systems, that's what gets you that 10. But for me, I mean, I'd give this thing a 9.5 if I could. It just has all the tech on it that I want. Right there. There's nothing else that I would add to this. nothing. And then you got the performance, 9 out of 10, easy. Would have gave it more. The amount of progress that I made, and I shot well with it from the beginning when I first picked it up, but the comfortability in that progress that I've made is just huge, okay? Absolutely huge, and that should be with anything. But with shooting so many different bows, you can really see some big leaps with certain bows. But this has been one of them that I just gotten more and more comfortable. I cannot wait for this opening day. I don't care what it is. No, I do. I'm not going to shoot a spike, but if it's a good buck or a doe, I'm hammering. I got the taste, the blood in my mouth. I got to shoot something. It's coming. It's right around the corner. I can't wait. Freezers are almost empty. We're going to get back at it and refill them. So it's on the higher end of some of these bows, but man, it is well worth it. Save your money, invest. This bow would last a lifetime, an absolute lifetime. Hoyt has great customer service. You know, if you ever need anything, these are just investments. You know, you want a good investment, Hoyt's where you go, hands down. It's just beautiful bows that perform time and time again. So I love the entire setup we have on here. We went with the black and gold sight. Those, watch out for that review. That's going to be a good one. We got the Quattro stabilizer on here. I got one of those new ripcord rests. They kind of revamped ripcord a little bit. I think it changed ownership, but they did a great job with those. I got the sticks. This thing's perfect. Absolutely perfect in my mind. Can't wait for season opener. You guys stay tuned for some cool footage. We're gonna try to get everything on film this year. I'm gonna take the kids hunting. It's gonna be cool. Make sure, above all, don't buy a bow off a single bow review. Go out there, shoot as many bows as you can. I promise you one will stand out more than others, and that's perfect for you. So no matter what people pitch to you or what they suggest, get into a bow shop, get multiple bows in your hands. Try not to be a fanboy or biased before you go shoot. Every year, companies are putting out new things that are they just keep blowing my mind away. So get out there and shoot, and then make sure above all, get your daily reps in. We'll see you next time. Good to be back.